Hi everybody, my name is Frekhtman. I'm a personal injury jury trial lawyer here in New York City. We have offices in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx, and we've been doing it since 1999, over 20 years of representing injury victims and their families and really maximizing results by getting some of the highest jury verdicts and settlements. A lot of multi-million-dollar cases, a lot of seven-figure, six and seven-figure, meaning hundreds of thousands and even into the millions, many million-dollar cases. So I wanted to answer a question that a lot of our clients ask and a lot of viewers like you ask, and that is, what is a case worth? If it's a herniated disc, how much money will I receive for my lawsuit? So what is a herniated disc and how much is a herniated disc settlement worth? I wanted to quickly explain. This is a model of the spine. This is the lower back, the L5, S1, and all the different vertebrae. So what you see is these are the vertebrae, the bone, and these little circles in here are the discs. So a disc, when it's healthy, looks something like this when it's outside. And you can see it's just a circle. And when the disc has a protrusion or part of it sticking out, that's known as a bulge. Or if it's really bad, it could be a herniation. A herniation just means that the nucleus, the center of the disc, has broken through the wall, and now that jelly is leaking outside the disc. And you can see it here in this model, the little red part, when you see it leaking outside, and it's touching this yellow part, which is one of the nerve roots. So when that touches the nerve root, it causes a lot of pain. And if it's here in the lower back, that pain is going to travel down the legs. And if it happens in the neck, that pain is going to travel down the arms and into the fingertips. And it's very painful. It's called radiating pain. And you can measure whether or not someone has radiating pain by doing an EMG or NCV test. And that is known as radiculopathy. So if they have that pain traveling either to the neck or to the lower back, they will have radiculopathy. And or sometimes it's also referred to as radicular pain. It's basically the same thing. And so a herniated disc is one of the major injuries. So what is a herniated disc worth? Well, to really answer that question, you'd have to look at all the aspects of that lawsuit. Because one of the aspects you'd have to look at is how much insurance coverage there is. If you have an auto crash case where two cars crashed, and let's say one of the cars hit the other car in the rear, but the offending vehicle, the one that was at fault, has $25,000. Now that's the minimum insurance that any driver can have in New York. They can't have less. But if they have $25,000 and you have this herniated disc and the patient treats, let's say, for 3 months, and then the patient quits and says, I'm not going to get any more treatment, nothing, I'm done. That case is probably going to be worth anywhere from $5,000 up to perhaps $20,000. And I'm going to be brutally honest, usually they're worth about $10,000 depending on the carrier. Now, some insurance companies are very cheap and they're going to offer you very little. And then you're going to have to make a decision with your lawyer. And a lot of lawyers don't like to file lawsuits on these cases because they know that right now they could get, let's say, $6,000. If they file a lawsuit, go to court like 50 times, and basically fight with this insurance company and their lawyers for like 2 or 3 years, maybe it'll get dismissed, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, they can get more. They can get like $10,000 or $15,000, and they're probably just not going to bother because it just doesn't make financial sense for them. And it might not make financial sense for the client. So a lot of lawyers won't even accept any 25 policy cases, right? So it just depends. Now, the other thing that kind of makes a difference is where the case is venued. Because if you have a case in the Bronx, let's take a different scenario. Let's say you have unlimited coverage. Let's say you get hit by a Coca-Cola truck and there's $100 million in insurance and it's in the Bronx. And in the Bronx is what's known as a plaintiff's venue where verdicts have been high for those bringing lawsuits. And so you'd want that case in the Bronx. You'd want to push it for trial, and you'll probably command much more money than you would in a neighboring county such as Westchester, which is more conservative, where a lot of people get defense verdicts. Like, we've had cases in the Bronx settle for like maybe $500,000, $600,000, and the same case in Westchester, we get a call And the defense lawyer says, what are you guys thinking? This is Westchester. Cases like this here go for $30,000. So you see how drastically the difference can be depending on where you are. The other factor that's very important is the client, right? Because if it's a likable person, somebody who's could be portrayed, somebody who has like a story to tell and can be affable and friendly and smiles and is calm, usually jurors will relate to that kind of person, and the insurance companies write all this down in their reports. And if the case goes to trial, a person like that, like somebody who's a hero, let's say somebody who served in the military or is a police officer, they usually can command a very large verdict or a large settlement. Where if you have somebody who has some personal problems, or somebody who's just angry, or somebody who feels like entitled to everything and just is very argumentative and starts, yelling. Like we had one client who was like just very angry and started yelling in a deposition. And even though we did many times, we sat down and we prepared her and we explained, but she's just very, uncontrollable. And so a client like that, if it does an outburst in court, depending on how people perceive it, obviously that could be a much worse result. And the other thing that's very important is the lawyer handling the case. Because if you have a lawyer who's going to spend the time to get to know the client's story, who's going to go to the client's house, who's going to really find out, get witnesses like circle of friends, people who knew this client before the incident, people who knew this client after the incident, to be able to fully explain the client's story to a jury. Obviously that lawyer, if they bring in, let's say, pics from your iPhone or pics from your Facebook or your Instagram that show that you were doing something like bicycling before this injury, but after this injury you can't, you're stuck in bed. And if they really can show how this has changed your life, but it takes time, you got to spend the time and the money and really do that, then this lawyer is going to do a better job than somebody who's just going to have, let's say, 1,000 files, and every file just has a number or a barcode, and they don't know one file from the other, and they just say, oh, you got a herniation, that's worth 6, and you got a bulge, that's worth 4, and then I got another herniation, well, this one's a little better, so this one's worth 15, and obviously, they're not really treating the client like a person. Now they're treating the client just like another number, and that's not good. And the final thing that I wanted to talk about today is the way that a case is prepared. Because let's say you have a large insurance policy, right? Let's take that Coca-Cola truck with like $100 million. If you have this same injury, a herniated disc, and the patient says, I'm fine, I feel great. Obviously, they're not going to get any more treatment. So the case may be worth $20,000, $30,000, maybe a little bit more. But another patient who has the same herniated disc may say, I'm in so much excruciating pain, it's just debilitating. I can't do anything about it. I need to go and I need to have a surgery. Now they have a back surgery, a fusion, where the disc is removed from the spine and an artificial disc is put in, and then an arthrodesis plate is put in with screws into the vertebrae. Now that's a major, major injury. A case like that can be worth $2 million, $3 million, even more. Even more, it could be worth just one surgery like that. One fusion surgery could be worth even, I would say, up to 10 million, or perhaps in some cases, depending on the circumstances, it could be worth more than that. So it really depends on how far the client is going to go with their treatment. And it also depends on the factors that we talked about earlier, but it also depends on whether the lawyer is going to help coordinate that medical care. Like one of the things we do is we give our clients best in class care because we send them to the top medical specialists in New York. And oftentimes, we could use their insurance, we can use the no-fault system to pay for some of it, but oftentimes we have to pay for the medical care. And we do that if we see that there's a real need. And what that really does is it really accomplishes two things. Number one, and most importantly, it makes the client feel better and it improves their health and their well-being, which is the most important thing in life, right? You want to have your health. And because they're getting better, because they're seeing all of these specialists like neurologists, orthopedists, physical therapists, now you have a strong medical record and you have all of these players, all of these medical doctors that are going to come to court and are going to testify. Like you would have actors in a movie, you have all of these medical professionals that are going to come to your trial, are going to and are going to testify for you, and now you have much stronger evidence. And because of that, the insurance company is going to realize it and probably offer you much more to settle your case. So in a fusion case, like I was saying, like we've had a fusion case go for 3 million. We've had one go for 2.4 million, 1.8 million, 1.4 million. It really depends whether you have lost wages, whether you have future medical bills, the age of the client. But usually when you're talking about a fusion surgery, you're talking about $1 million and up. And if you're talking about a completely soft tissue injury, like on a 25 policy, you're talking about like 15, 20,000, or maybe even less than that. And then in the middle is usually something known as pain management. If somebody goes and does like an epidural steroid injection because they have pain, but they don't want to get a full-blown back surgery, and those are usually worth about 100,000. And if somebody gets a percutaneous discectomy or a microdiscectomy, we've had those cases get verdicts of anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000, and settlements a little bit less, I would say, $200,000 to anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000. So I hope this has been helpful. You can ask us any questions, and but I think it's important because like this is a very common injury, this herniated disc, and herniated disc settlements are one of the issues that people really care about. So I wanted to make a video. I wanted to explain it a little bit more. And if there's any other questions or any other videos that you'd want to see about this topic or other topics, to drop us a comment below. We'd be happy to make a video about all the popular topics that people like you want answered, because that's what we're here for. And we'll give you a free private attorney consultation. And what we ask you to do is please subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos. And let's open up a conversation. Maybe in the future we'll do some Facebook lives or YouTube lives, and we'll start doing lives where people can ask questions and we can answer them live for you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, and have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.